Um, so yeah, we caught up last week, Jake. Where are we at now with everything?
All right. So a lot of last week was about how we're going to redo the brand a little bit, redo our copy, kind of bring our messaging in line with that key messaging exercise that we did together a few weeks back. And now we're at a point where that key messaging is in a place where we really like it. So we got to now convert all of our different assets. And this can, like all of that stuff that I've just said there, of course, sounds like a little bit boring, but the reality is this is the business building stuff. So we're in there every day, running lives in our community, answering questions, asking questions, posting created and curated content so that people can learn from it in snackable and in long form ways. And that's the kind of like fun stuff. That's the value that everybody gets, including us, right, from the community. But
Mm.
there's all this other stuff that we need to do all the time. And this is like just a fundamental part of this business. So we've now got to a point where the website is almost fully redrafted and rebranded. It kind of like it is reskinned, if you like. And I think we're both kind of like 85 to 90% happy with that. We just need a little bit of further sign off from some other friends and allies, and also get Ben to say that he likes it. Then we're looking at trying to do this, exactly the same thing, but do it within the Mighty Network season one community, right? So
Mm.
in there, redoing the copy and making sure that we've got all of that new imagery and style basically across the skin of the community
Mm.
as well. And then after that, and I mean, I don't know if you want to say anything about that because you've been doing a lot of that work.
Yeah, I think yeah, obviously we've talked a lot, both internally and with the community, and it's a really interesting part of the journey to go through. Because obviously we start out, we have our philosophy that we've kind of iterated and solidified. There's lots that we want to say. We've talked just recently about um, potentially missing a bit of mystery in what we're doing as we've tightened the messaging up and everything else. But it's been a really useful exercise actually to go through ourselves, rather than getting an agency or someone external to come in and help. Is actually us going through this process of tightening our message, our what, our why, our how, and actually getting to the point now with the latest version of, well, the visual representation, obviously, which is the website of that messaging. I think we're in a much more confident place. It feels a lot more confident the simpler we are, and the simpler we can translate that why, what, and how. And hopefully, when people listen to this, go over to the website and they come into the community, they'll see how that confidence is reflected, um, both visually and, more importantly, in the messaging. So it's a super interesting process, and obviously we'll continue to refine and iterate. It's always an ever evolving animal. Um, but it's a super exercise, and we've talked a lot since we started about um, removing, right, and making things simpler and taking ingredients out. I'll always use the reference of The Bear, which is one of my favorite TV programs, and they say that you don't make a great dish with loads of ingredients. You make the best dishes with as few ingredients as possible, but each one means something very specific. And I think we've gone through that process of going, these are all the things we would like to say, but actually it distills down to those three ingredients of what, why, and how, and being
Yeah.
able to say those very simply. So it's been a really good exercise for us.
Yeah, and I will. I can't lie. I'm going to miss some of that mystery, right? Because when we were just talking about football in the future, and your space, place, and in tomorrow's game, and then also talking about um, how you kind of like own a stake in the future of football. A lot of that stuff, it really speaks to me. But of course, I can see past the scaffolding into the actual architecture of the building, right? So I kind of
Mm.
understand it, and not everybody could. And so I liked that these latest updates that people are going to see soon, they're a little bit more on the side of describing the benefits rather than the features, right? And it's less from our perspective and much more in the perspective of why somebody should join and then why somebody should stay and engage and all of that, which are all real and as true as all the mysterious stuff that was there, 6 months ago. But it's just better for people, right? And that's
Yeah,
important because we've got to grow this community. That's our goal,
yeah,
to
and
fulfill our purpose. We have to grow this community.
yeah, and doing that and really setting those foundations that everyone can understand, not just us in our experience and knowledge, like you said, looking beyond the scaffolding. It's important to set that foundation and actually at the right time, once we built that brand equity, can bring some of that mystery back, right? We're dealing with the future of football, and there is inherently an element of mystery in that future, in so many ways, across the four pillars that we engage with across season one. Youth, football, tech, and future. All of those things will hold an element of mystery, but it's bringing it back to benefits. People want the outcome. Community members want the outcome, and how we get there will be a wonderful journey full of great features and a bit of mystery and plenty of community spirit, and that's what we want to do, is build that. So it's been good to retain that, and we will retain that mystery internally, but actually then present it in a manner that sits on top of the core fundamentals of that what, why, and how.
Okay, so let's then as the next job is obviously to do this work again in the season one community itself. We've done it on the website. That will be refreshed soon. I'm guessing in a matter of days once we just got the final bits of feedback. Let's talk about the priorities for the next 90 days. We talked about this briefly just before we jumped on this call over the last 48 hours, but we're going to reframe priorities a little bit more towards new users, right? So next 90 days, focus on new users, and we're going to do that in a couple of different ways. We're going to do that with content and our individual reach outs to people that are high value network members, right, for our community, people who are interesting and they have got an engaging story to tell, and they can also help some of those people that are in the community that are a little bit earlier in their journey into the football industry. So we're going to spend a bit of time doing that, and then we're going to do some stuff that's about very specifically about network and friends and create an offer to bring people in. So, like, let's just double check: are we still aligned that's top priority, and so that we can like put it in the minutes and the actions, and we just go forward from there for me, you
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, we growing the community it should always be number one focus. And we again have gone through this kind of initial phase, iterative process, and we feel happy with the cadence in which we're engaging and putting out content and lives and modules
in
and the
terms of the
education
educational
content
content that's in, yeah.
within the platform, um, within the team internally. So now it's at a point where we are pretty efficient with that, and we can add value as and where we feel is right for obviously the community themselves, who we continue to want to prioritize and serve. But outside of that, we want new users, we want new people to come in and take advantage of all of those benefits that we're outlining in the new messaging. And so yeah, this is our I guess our strategic priority now, and how we do that, is obviously down to the content we put externally, and also the network that we have, and how we can bring those interesting people, and entities as well, clubs, organizations, potential partners as well.
Great. Okay. And then after that, right? So, like, once that starts going well, what's the next priority? I mean, I've got here on my list that we talked about building the investment case. So, are we aligned there? And how's that look for you?
Yeah, I think it's we've talked a lot about investment, why, when, how. We know that's an inherently difficult landscape, and obviously priority should go to user base, and once we're in a healthy position with that, is then going, okay, we already talk to a lot of people in our network, across from clubs to organizations to individuals, and we get a lot of positive feedback from that. And obviously, there are different directions that we can go in terms of how we tackle that investment piece. Again, from individuals who want to step forward through to brands and clubs who may want to partner or sponsor because they get what we're trying to do and they really resonate with the philosophy for their young people, but also the more traditional investment routes that people go through. So I think for us it's that next step, and it's deciding which of those routes allow us to maintain the strong philosophy, the vision that we want for this business and for the people within it, and decide which avenues I think would be best for that.
So I think what we can do then is, as we're driving new users, we can do some investigations with new and existing users to just like understand a little bit better who we've got there, because we've got this mix, right, of people who are younger and earlier in their career and people who are very experienced and got a profile and they're very well networked. And so kind of like understanding that so that we can build a better investment case, I think would be really good. But we'll do that once we've done this new user drive.
Yeah, I think that will start to play itself out over time. Now we understand that we've got these two main demographics. We've got the young people, the 19 to 25, 18 to 25, who are those kind of multi-curious, finding their way through the relatively early parts of their football career. And then, as you said, we've got the well networked, the people who are experienced, the people who are sitting in positions of experience within the football industry. So actually, is how we message to both of those, and again connecting those together, I think is important internally, but important obviously for the investment case as well.
All right, great. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Let's make sure that we keep doing these calls where we just building in public and letting people know, what we're up to and what our intentions are, and get one booked in for the end of next week so that we can do the same thing again. Host it always on YouTube and then post a link into the season one community, which I'll do later this week.
Mega.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
Nick. Cheers.
Thank you.